It's crazy to think that Archer has been on as long as it has, but also at the same time amazing for people like me who continue to love the show. What is it like for you, coming into season 13 in comparison to before?
It's crazy. Like, I can't believe it's still going. Like, when we first started, we are like, are we going to get a season two? Like, are people going to like this show? So it's wonderful that people still love the show and watch it and stick with us. And, I think that because the show has changed so much, that's what keeps people engaged because you never know what's going to happen on Archer. And, some people didn't love like seasons changing and stuff being weird, but it's also what kept it fresh. So, yeah, it's really fun.
I couldn't agree more. I think all the different coma stories actually really helped keep the show alive.
Mhm.
But what has it been like then for you to come back to the sort of episodic adventures of the original run for these past couple seasons?
I like it. I think because we had the 3 seasons departure, like the coma seasons, like coming back was like, oh, it's fresh again because we've been gone for 3 years. So that's been really fun. And I really enjoyed like everybody getting used to Archer being around again and being like kind of irritated by it, but Pam still being like, well, he's my buddy, you know?
It's amazing to see the friendship that they've had develop throughout the years. I mean, it's an unlikely one, but at the same time, it works.
Yeah.
And so obviously with COVID, a lot of group recordings and stuff like that probably couldn't take place. But did you get the opportunity to record alongside any of your co-stars this time around?
No, and we never have. Like even before COVID, we've always recorded separately because we're all in different cities. And so I'm in Atlanta where they make the show, so I get to be in there with the director and the producers and stuff, and some editors sometimes. But everybody else is just in LA or New York, and so they just patch in. So even before the pandemic, we never got to record together. And I was like, guys, because I know they do it on Bob's Burgers and they get to improvise a lot. And I've always wanted to do it. I thought it'd be so much fun. And it was like when we had like our 100th season, I was like, can we all record together? And they're like, no, it's too expensive.
That's a bummer. They should really make it happen because I think
I know.
one episode at least of you guys improving would just be the
So
funniest thing in the
fun.
world.
Totally.
So I was speaking with John yesterday, and he was saying how, and unlike before, the scripts for this season were kind of meted out. And so I'm curious what your initial reactions were every time you got a new script for season 13.
It's fun because for so long, Adam Reed wrote every episode of the first 10 seasons. And so when we started getting different episodes from different writers, it was really exciting to be like, okay, what's this person's take on it? And then when you'd see a writer come back, because I think every episode of each season since then have been written by different people, but like, Ganik has written a few. So then you start to get to know that writer's version of this universe. And so it's been really fun and it changes everything. And it's cool to see the characters staying exactly the same, but just through the eyes of a different writer. I really love it.
Has there been anything that you've noticed change in Pam over the past few seasons in comparison to before?
I think she's been distilled down to like her, like more of her essence. It's just like everybody's like, okay, this is what Pam does. So who is Pam like at her core? And the thing that I love about this season that's so exciting is finally Pam has like a love interest for several episodes. Like it's a big part of the season, which has never happened. So it's like, it's about time.
I'm trying to remember. I can't. Was that introduced in the first couple episodes of the season, or is that later on?
I don't know, honestly, because we recorded out of order, so I'm not exactly sure when it is, but it's definitely for a few episodes of the season.
I will then have to keep my eyes peeled because that
Hmm.
does sound like an interesting storyline for Pam.
Yeah.
And then on a sadder note, I mean, this season is the first without Jessica. And so, I mean, what was your first reaction when you heard that news?
It was sad. I mean, we had the opportunity to kind of have a conversation with Jessica and before she passed, and it was we didn't know for a long time, but we kind of knew that it was coming, and we knew we were going to be changed forever. It was really sad to lose her, but it was also so wonderful to have had all the years we did with her and learned from her, and I mean, just to get to work with her was so much fun. And this year when we were at Comic-Con in San Diego was the first year had all been together again, since Jessica passed. And so it was nice to just be together and think about her and share stories about her. And we definitely are going to miss her this season.
What was it like for you then recording without her? I mean, obviously, I know you said you don't record as a group, but I mean, recording even stories without Mallory. What was that like for you?
And even reading scripts, and knowing that because the character's still kind of ever present, because Archer's always talking about where she is and she could show up at any time, which I think Jessica would love. Like nothing's final and she's always there watching. Like Mallory could come back at any time. So we definitely miss her, but I think that she'll always be in every episode and in our hearts and such a big part of the show.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've already enjoyed seeing the development of Archer in his loss in the first couple episodes. I'm curious to see where it goes next. And does Pam have a similar kind of, emotional experience with Mallory's loss throughout this season?
Not really. Pam doesn't really deal with it much. I think everybody kind of does, but like Archer's the one that you're really seeing deal with it the most.
He did have the more unique dynamic with Mallory.
Totally.
What would you then say was one of your favorite elements of this season in comparison to before?
It's honestly not different than before. Like what I enjoy a lot about it is the stuff that I love about previous seasons. No matter what we're doing, like it's always the same group of assholes that are mean to each other, but still love each other. So I love that that's no matter what they're doing, you can always count on that. Like that it's always going to be the way that it's going to be no matter what changes, everybody's going to be the same asshole they've always been.
You're not wrong there. It doesn't matter storylines, whatever it be, they're the same. But that's what we love about them. Mm-hmm. And then this is a show that's interesting too. You mentioned Adam writing the first 10 seasons, and he of course stepped down as showrunner at least after 10. And so with that, the future of the show and in many audiences' minds has been like, well, where is it going to go? And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how far this show could go past this mark?
Well, for me, I want it to go on forever because it's so much fun to do. And voice work's the best. I don't even have to put on clothes if I don't want to. I can wear my pajamas. I think that if we keep doing what we've been doing, which is keeping it fresh and exciting, but also giving people what they want, I think that we could go on for a really long time. I think that's the beauty of animation, and the show gets so much more amazing looking every year. It's like, oh my God, what could they do more than they did last season? And then you see something and it blows your mind. So the animation is really quite beautiful too, which I think is not what you get always in adult animation. It's usually a little bit more simple, and our show is so fantastic looking. So I would love to see it go on forever and ever. And honestly, FX is such a great home for us because they give shows a lot of time. And we've always talked about it. Like if we had ended up on a network like Comedy Central or something, we probably would have only had a handful of seasons. And so we're so lucky that we ended up on FX, so that they gave us so much time. So as long as they're happy and fans are happy and we're happy, I think we'll keep going. I hope
so too, because I am one of the said fans and I want to see it keep going forever.
Yeah, totally.
And so one of the interesting things too is that there's always been kind of rumblings and talks about a potential Archer movie, whether it be animated or live action. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are on, taking this to the big screen, especially after John just brought Bob's Burgers to the big screen.
Yeah, I think definitely the cast is all like, wait a minute, how come they got a movie? What, don't we get a movie? I think that we would love to do it. I haven't seen the Bob's Burgers movie yet. Is it out?
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'm sure it's fantastic. So I think we would absolutely love to do it and just be like making a really long episode. So I hope we get to do it one day just to explore the world a little bit more. But who knows? You never know. And a live action movie would be so crazy because people will be like, well, John Hamm would obviously play Archer. And then it's like, but he doesn't sound like Archer. So how would it work?
I mean, my pitch is still just have John Hamm and then just dub him over with John Benjamin. And that way
you know what? John Hamm would totally be cool. Totally.
Yeah.
And he's such a cool dude that he'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
Exactly. I mean, he's doing progressive commercials. I'm sure he'd be willing to roll with the
Totally.
joke on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for my final question before we
Mhm.
go, in looking at the future, I know you just talked about the love interest for Pam this season, but what else would you like to see for Pam in the coming seasons for this show?
Wow. I think that my favorite stuff is when she's out in the field, like screwing around, because she's very capable. Like Pam can do anything. So I'd love always more of her out there doing stuff. I also really love Poopy Farms, and I would honestly love to see like a whole season at Poopy Farms. I pitched years ago, I was like, guys, let's do a whole Poopy Farms spinoff. I can do all the voices of all the characters. And they're like, Amber, no. So Poopy Farms has always been so much fun. So I want to see more of that. I write Pam's Twitter feed, and I always write stuff about Poopy Farms because I'm like, come on, guys, you want to get back there.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I think that would be pretty fun to explore in some capacity in the future. But
totally.
Amber, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. I greatly appreciate it. Again, I'm a fan of the show. I'm a fan of yours. So it's an absolute honor.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks.